In the early days of Armstrong World Industries' lean transformation, we took many benchmarking trips to successful companies who had implemented lean for many years, realizing that we could learn so much from them and hopefully avoid some of the early transformation mistakes. Now, one hot day in July, we took a benchmarking trip to Boeing and Nucor Steel in South Carolina. Our first stop was at the Boeing plant where they finished the Dreamliner 787 jets. Now, these things were massive. So the factory was over 1 million square feet of air-conditioned space that was bright and clean. And what we were impressed with and noticed was how all activities seemed to be choreographed and the flow was so smooth, and we could actually see finished jetliners coming through the factory at the end of the line. So, very impressed. By the end of the tour, we went through a gift shop, and of course, some of our team members bought some things to take home with them. Our next stop was at Nucor Steel. Now, the differences were stark in comparison. It was dark, it was dirty, it was hot, and there was no air conditioning to be found. But everybody seemed to be talking about one key performance measure: quality tons delivered to the customer. That was the thing, no matter who they were, whether they were HR, the president, or an hourly technician, they all talked about their role in producing quality tons of steel for the customer. Now, in the furnace control room, the one place where there was air conditioning, I saw someone working in the hottest job yet. They were outside over a hole taking samples of molten steel. Oh, and by the way, they were wearing a Tyvek suit. Well, I was just flabbergasted by this because it was so hot in the factory and it had to be so much more hot in that Tyvek suit. And then they were stooped over this hole. So I asked our tour guide about that job. I said, surely they rotate every 15 minutes. And he said, no, Adam, they don't rotate. This is one of the top jobs in the plant, and we have people working full shifts in that role. Well, I was so intrigued that I asked if I could go out and speak with the technician doing the work. So I went out, and as I got closer, I could feel the heat from the sampling location, and it almost was pushing me back. But when I talked to him, he was proud of the job he was doing. He was doing the most important job in the plant from his perspective, the final person to protect the customer interest, to evaluate that the steel met their quality requirements. It was just amazing, but I couldn't believe it was humanly possible to even do this job for a few minutes, let alone that he had been doing it for 3 years. Now, when the tour was over, we were all amazed by what we saw, but then we went outside and it felt like we had hit the air conditioning. And it did, but it was actually 103 degrees outside. So that trip taught me the lengths that people go to do their jobs and protect the interests of the customer, and how critical that is regardless of the industry you're in. I hope you enjoyed this story, gained some insight, and learned something you can use. You'll find many more Kaizen stories on my website, www.pi-partners.com. If you'd like help growing your profits through sustained process improvement, scan the QR code on the screen for a free consultation, and let's start our journey together.